is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
I like when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they go into the next man. So
I mean, Jake Paul is twice the size. I mean, how do you make a match like that?
Be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
The boxing world is on fire right now with talk of Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis. Fans, fighters, and analysts everywhere are weighing in, and the reactions range from outrage to disbelief. This matchup has the internet buzzing, but not always in a good way. Let's dive into what the biggest names in combat sports are saying, and why this fight is drawing so much heat. Stay tuned, and don't forget to share your take at the end. Michael Bisping, former UFC middleweight champion turned analyst, didn't hold back. He blasted Jake Paul as nothing more than a bully, saying that chasing smaller fighters while claiming to take on the best makes Paul a joke in the sport. For Bisping, it's not bravery. It's picking on someone you massively outweigh.
Ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
News of the possible Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight sparked waves of criticism rather than excitement. At a time when crossover fights are trending, the backlash here is striking. Fans and experts alike are questioning not just the matchup, but whether it has any real merit.
Gervonta Davis just posted that he would beat the brakes off of you if you guys fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
is there a height limit in boxing?
Daniel Cormier jumped into the debate, pointing out the obvious problem: size and weight. The two-time UFC champion argued that no matter how skilled Jake Paul may become, fighting someone like Tank Davis, who naturally competes at 135 pounds, is a mismatch that undermines the credibility of professional boxing.
We were yelling so much about him fighting someone, fight somebody your size. His next opponent is by far the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135 pounds.
Shakur Stevenson didn't mince words when asked about Paul versus Davis. He called the idea terrible, saying it's all about money rather than competition. Stevenson argued that if Jake Paul really wanted a big payday, there are better options, including a fight with him.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I mean, I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure.
Stevenson admitted Jake Paul has improved a lot since stepping into boxing, even suggesting Paul could eventually become a champion. Still, he stressed that Gervonta Davis operates on a whole different level, with speed, power, and elite experience that would overwhelm Paul inside the ring.
Think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah. I mean,
There's a huge size advantage, though.
it is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Yeah.
The key issue is the gap in skill and credibility. Davis, a 3-division world champion with an elite amateur background, has beaten established names and built a pound-for-pound resume. His legacy in boxing is undeniable, and many argue Paul hasn't proven himself enough to even deserve a shot at someone like Tank.
But the thing with them, the fans, like, they don't, it's not really fans it's not fans that really understand the sport.
It's casual
You know what I'm
fans.
saying? Yeah, like, they don't really understand the sport. They just, okay, I like this person, so I'm gonna go against this fighter. Or I'm gonna go against every other fighter but this fighter right here. That's what, you know? But if you just go look at nigga their fights, bro, you could tell, like, it's not even though it's a waste. Till y'all prove yourself to, you feel me? That's what, to me, till niggas start proving that stuff, like, all right, bet he's a threat, then all right, cool, I'll fight him.
Veteran trainer Jeff Mayweather also voiced his doubts, calling potential fight crazy. He emphasized that Paul is far bigger than Davis, and the two shouldn't even be mentioned in the same weight conversation. The only scenario where it could make sense, Mayweather noted, is if it's just an exhibition for entertainment value.
kind of weird because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank.
Mayweather broke it down bluntly. This isn't a small size difference, it's a chasm. With Jake Paul walking in over 200 pounds and Davis never fighting above 147. The weight gap makes a sanctioned bout ridiculous. For him, an exhibition might pass as entertainment, but as a real fight, it's absurd.
And I mean, but with it being exhibition, it makes sense. It's fine. He got a big name that he's going to be fighting. But I mean, it really makes no sense because he could be weighing over 200 and some pounds. Tank's going to probably be weighing maybe at the most 147, 150. So I don't even understand why the fight's happening.
Even Logan Paul had concerns. He warned Jake that Gervonta Davis isn't someone to use for a promotional stunt. He's a dangerous, world-class counterpuncher with elite speed and precision. Logan admitted the matchup could backfire badly if Jake underestimates Tank's skills.
This is a dangerous fight for Jake. Gervonta's technical expertise, his speed, his precision, the fact that he's a counter striker are dangerous facts that make me think that Jake's really got to lock in for this one. On the contrary, if Gervonta feels a couple big Jake Paul shots, it's going to be detrimental.
I think this is going to be one of those ones that gets a real good racial split. I think it's going to be some real black versus white shit, dude.
Legendary promoter Bob Arum dismissed the fight altogether, calling it meaningless and saying he wouldn't even bother watching. For him, the size gap makes it a circus act, not a legitimate contest, and he encouraged fans to skip it too.
You're not going to watch Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis when that happens?
No, isn't that stupid? I mean, Jake Paul is twice the size. I mean, how do you make a match like that?
Michael Bisping doubled down, saying that real fighters challenge opponents who truly scare them, not smaller guys they can push around. He argued that Jake Paul taking on Davis looks less like courage and more like bullying, something people would call out immediately outside the ring.
That are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, 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 stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here.
Bisping added that after Jake's lone loss to Tommy Fury, chasing a fight with someone as small as Gervonta Davis is pathetic. He called it not just a mismatch, but a disgrace. Embarrassing behavior more fitting of a bully than a serious boxer.
Loss on the record, of course. Tommy Fury doesn't want to face him again. Picking on a guy that small would be laughable. It would be embarrassing, okay? It's straight up bully boy bullshit.
Mike Perry, bare-knuckle star and ex-UFC fighter, slammed the matchup and even questioned Jake Paul's passion for boxing. He argued that Paul keeps calling out smaller names not because of hunger to prove himself, but because it guarantees headlines.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, I mean, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw and, you know, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
Anthony Dirrell offered a different angle. He admitted hardcore fans are furious, but he argued that fighters have to think about their paychecks. Boxing moves on quickly, and if a fight with Jake Paul secures life-changing money, Dirrell says you can't blame someone for taking it.
A lot of people mad, a lot of people upset, real hardcore boxer fans. But you know what about boxing? I like when it's all said and done and when you guys go off, they go into the next man. So if y'all can make a big payday, go get that payday. The sport of boxing don't love you.
Sean Porter explained why fans are so outraged. He compared boxing to football, saying that while other sports have softened over time, boxing has kept its raw, pure essence. For him, throwing a champion like Davis into a crossover circus fight risks tarnishing what makes boxing special.
Ball for Tank Davis, but I think when it comes to boxing fans, there's an essence that comes with this sport, and it's an essence that hasn't been lost, unlike other sports. For an example, with football, we come from the hitting days. Yeah. Can't hit nowadays. You know what I mean? So boxing hasn't lost its essence. You know, they're trying to make it safer and, you know, all those sorts of things. But there's still this pureness to boxing that really doesn't exist in sports anymore, but it's still there with boxing. I think that's why people have such a problem with this kind of move from Tank Davis.
Porter also suggested a solution. Create an influencer title so celebrities can fight each other without dragging real champions into it. Boxing analyst Spencer Oliver added that while Davis has the skills to beat Paul, the matchup itself is bizarre. He said Paul should stick to fighting guys closer to his weight, like when he beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which actually boosted his credibility.
I think I fancy my chances. I think Gervonta Davis actually beats him as well. He's one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world at lightweight. But it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It's like you got a guy of 5'5" boxing a guy of 6 foot plus. Cruiserweight, yeah, it's just all a little bit odd. I feel if they're going to do an exhibition, perhaps Jake should have picked someone more his size. Look, his last fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Was at cruiserweight. Chavez Jr. was a former world champion at middleweight himself, and that sort of made sense. And it was a good win for Jake Paul. You know, he come out there and he beats an ex-world champion. He gets a little bit of credibility, and you go, right, now you're heading in the right direction.
Nate Diaz weighed in too, saying Davis is simply too small for the fight to make sense in boxing terms. He didn't slam either fighter, but admitted the matchup doesn't hold sporting value. Though he conceded it could still be entertaining to watch.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a fucking great boxer, but he ain't gonna do shit to fucking Jake Paul.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think
he's just too small.
It's just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody else. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually.
Veteran boxing writer Keith Idec broke it down mathematically. Even if Jake Paul cut to 180 pounds, he'd still outweigh Davis by at least 45 pounds. That's not just a small edge, it's unsafe. Idec warned that weight classes exist for a reason, and ignoring them could have serious consequences.
They're 65 pounds apart in weight for the most part now. If you look at the cruiserweight limit and the lightweight limit, even if Jake Paul somehow got down to, let's just say 180, and I'm not sure that he'd be able to do that at this point because he's fought so high in weight. Let's just say he got down to 180. They're still 45 pounds apart in weight, and that's just not safe. So if this were to be treated as some sort of, even though they're calling it an exhibition, a legitimate athletic event, I don't know how you could do that because it's just not safe for someone that big and someone that small to fight each other. That's why they have weight class.
Lamont Roach Sr. was caught off guard by the announcement, saying his team thought they were next in line for Paul. He called it unusual and frustrating, but admitted this is just the business side of boxing. Deals fall apart, and fighters have to adapt.
Very surprising to see that announcement, given that we thought we should have had the fight for him next, but that's the business of boxing, man. Stuff like that takes place, and you got to see what you're going to do going forward with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's unusual, you know what I'm saying, because we had an agreement. So we'll see.
Roach Sr. added that his camp had been preparing for months, only to see the opportunity slip away. He called it disappointing for the sport itself, saying that while money often drives these decisions, it doesn't make them right.
Trial, they best a lot of times in their career, and it's a lot. So, you know, when they get back, they get news like that, you know what I'm saying, it does not receive well. So, but we solid. We're going to stand 10 toes down, man, and we're going to see what's next for us.
KSI jumped in too, dismissing the entire idea. He said no one cares about Paul versus Davis, framing it as just another cash grab rather than a serious fight. For him, Paul thrives on controversy, not real competition.
Which is to let anybody know that's listening that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I have an abundance of and of which you have none of. My life's commitment and dedication versus a second or third or fourth thought in the world of priority on your list.
Chael Sonnen argued that if Davis does fight Paul, it should be about more than winning. He said Tank needs to use the matchup to remind everyone what real boxing is. A sport built on skill, dedication, and experience, not hype and headlines. The debate around Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis shows just how divided the boxing world is. Some see it as entertainment. Others see it as a disgrace. What's undeniable is that it's stirring controversy and forcing fans to ask, where's the line between sport and spectacle? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed the breakdown, and subscribe for more updates on the wild world of combat sports.